The disciples gathered under the Bodhi tree, their eyes fixed on the serene figure of the Buddha. Buddha held a small, seemingly insignificant seed in the palm of his hand, addressing them with a calm voice. This seed, he began, contains the potential to grow into a mighty tree, sheltering and nurturing many lives. The disciples murmured among themselves, puzzled by the simplicity of the object and its profound implications. "My son," the Buddha began, his voice soft yet resonant, "what burdens your heart is not wealth, but the fear of losing it." The disciple nodded, his trembling hands clasped as though trying to hold on to the invisible weight of his worries. The disciples remained silent, their curiosity mounting as they awaited the wisdom that lay within his question. "You cannot know," Buddha said, "for the seed does not yet reveal its truth or its destiny to you." He turned his gaze toward the youngest monk, a boy with wide, questioning eyes and an open heart. "Tell me, young one," Buddha said, "what do you see when you look at this seed in my hand?" The young monk hesitated before answering, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Master, I see something small, fragile, and incomplete," he said, his honesty evident in his tone. Buddha smiled gently and nodded, acknowledging the truth of the boy's observation with compassion and understanding. "You are correct," Buddha replied, "for the seed in your eyes is but a fragment of what it may become." He turned to the elder monks, whose years of meditation and study had shaped their perspectives deeply. "And you, my venerable disciples," Buddha asked, "do you see anything beyond what the boy has described?" The elder monks exchanged glances, each pondering the question with the weight of their accumulated wisdom. One elder, revered for his eloquence, rose and spoke with measured words that carried authority. "Master, I see within the seed the potential for greatness. Yet its future remains shrouded in uncertainty," he said. Buddha acknowledged the elder's insight, his expression revealing neither approval nor disapproval, only serene contemplation. "The seed, like ignorance, is the beginning of all things," Buddha said, addressing the entire assembly. "Ignorance is not your enemy," he continued, "but the fertile ground upon which transformation and growth may arise." The disciples leaned closer, their minds absorbing the depth and breadth of the teaching unfolding before them. "To grow," Buddha said, "you must first embrace the mystery of not knowing, the vastness of your own ignorance." A ripple of understanding passed through the Sangha, though questions still lingered in the minds of many. A young monk, seated at the edge of the gathering, raised his hand to seek further clarification. "Master," the monk said, "what if fear keeps us from planting the seed, from venturing into the unknown?" Buddha's gaze softened as he turned toward the young monk, his response filled with profound kindness. "Fear arises from attachment to what is known and an aversion to what is uncertain," he said gently. "It is the shadow cast by clinging," Buddha explained, "a barrier to the boundless freedom that awaits beyond. Let go of your attachments," Buddha urged, "and you shall be free to nurture the seed without prejudice or fear." "Master," a disciple whispered, "can humans live as freely as the bird, unbound by desires and fears, living simply?" The Buddha nodded solemnly, his lips curving into an enigmatic smile that invited contemplation rather than instant answers. "A human, too, can be free," the Buddha said, "but it requires the courage to let go of what weighs upon them." "Do not reject your ignorance," Buddha said, "but honor it as the seed of wisdom, the beginning of your path." The disciples meditated on these words, their thoughts turning inward as they contemplated the profound teaching. Buddha placed the seed gently on the ground before him, as if entrusting it to the earth itself. "This seed," he said, "will one day grow into a tree, yet it requires the patience of time and care." The Sangha understood the metaphor, recognizing the parallels between the seed's journey and their own spiritual endeavors. Each of you carries within you a seed of ignorance, Buddha said, waiting to bloom into the wisdom of awakening. But remember, he added, growth cannot be forced. It unfolds naturally, like the opening of a flower in sunlight. His words resonated deeply, planting seeds of inspiration in the hearts of those who listened with open minds. The disciples bowed low to the Buddha, their respect evident in the humility of their gestures and demeanor. They vowed silently to honor their ignorance, to nurture it as the starting point of their journey toward enlightenment. The disciples gazed at the flower, their hearts attuned to its simplicity, and their minds unraveled the complexity of longing. The merchant felt his chest lift as though the heavy stones of worldly desires were falling away into the earth. The seed, now planted in the earth, became a symbol of their collective commitment to growth and understanding. Days turned into weeks, yet the memory of that teaching endured, shaping the path of every disciple. Through the cycles of seasons, the Sangha nurtured the seed in their own spirits, awaiting the fruits of their efforts. Buddha's words echoed in their minds, a guiding light in moments of doubt and uncertainty along their journey. And so, under the shade of the Bodhi tree, the Sangha began to embody the teachings of their enlightened master. Another day, the disciples followed Buddha to the banks of a roaring river, its currents wild and seemingly impassable. Buddha stood silently for a moment, observing the rushing water as the disciples whispered among themselves. Anxious and uncertain, he turned to them, saying, "This river represents your doubts and fears, flowing endlessly, challenging your courage and resolve." An elder monk stepped forward, suggesting, "Master, perhaps we could build a bridge to cross the river safely and efficiently." Another disciple added, "We might find a boat nearby to carry us across these powerful currents without struggle or danger." One vendor shouted, another haggled, children laughed, and animals brayed. Yet the chaos became almost musical, almost harmonious. Silence, Buddha said, is not the absence of sound but the fullness of presence, the depth beneath the surface. You seek solutions, Buddha said, yet wisdom begins not in answers but in acceptance of what lies before you. He walked to the river's edge, stepping into the water calmly, his presence transforming the chaos into a soothing flow. Miraculously, as Buddha continued forward, the river seemed to part, creating a clear, tranquil path for him to walk. The disciples stood astonished, their doubts momentarily silenced by the sight of the river yielding to Buddha's serene steps. Buddha turned and beckoned them, saying, "Come, follow me across this river, and learn the truth hidden within its currents." The disciples hesitated, fearing the unknown, yet their trust in Buddha compelled them to follow his lead into the water. As they walked behind Buddha, the river continued to part, offering passage and protection to those who embraced the journey. Once they reached the other side, the disciples gathered around Buddha, their hearts filled with questions and wonder. A young monk asked, "Master, how did you cross the river without resistance or struggle, as if the water obeyed you?" Buddha replied, "I did not fight the river. I became one with it, accepting its nature without fear or judgment." Acceptance, Buddha said, reveals paths hidden to those consumed by resistance, allowing harmony to replace chaos within the mind. The disciples pondered his words, realizing that wisdom arises not through force but through unity with life's natural currents. Another monk spoke, his voice filled with doubt. "Master, what if acceptance feels beyond reach, clouded by fear and uncertainty?" Buddha answered, "Fear is the illusion of separation, the belief that you are alone against the might of what surrounds you. When you see yourself as part of the river," Buddha continued, "fear dissolves, and you flow with the currents effortlessly." The disciples meditated on this teaching, their thoughts turning inward as they sought the courage to embrace their fears. Buddha gestured to the river behind them, saying, "This water carries life, yet it does not resist the rocks in its path. It flows," Buddha said, "changing shape, adapting to obstacles, and finding peace in its journey, as you must also do." A disciple asked, "Master, does acceptance mean surrender, forsaking control over our choices and direction?" Buddha replied, "Acceptance is not surrender. It is seeing clearly, acting wisely, and walking the path without clinging to control." The monks bowed in understanding, their hearts filled with gratitude for the profound insight they had received that day. Under Buddha's guidance, the Sangha began to see their doubts as the river, challenging, yet offering lessons in patience and wisdom. As the days passed, the disciples practiced acceptance, recognizing its power to transform resistance into clarity and purpose. The river, once a symbol of fear, became a metaphor for the flow of life in the currents of their own minds. Buddha's words echoed in their hearts, a reminder that true wisdom lies not in domination but in unity and balance. The Sangha grew stronger in spirit, their journey guided by the teachings of their enlightened master and the river's lessons. Through the challenges they faced, they learned to move with grace, embracing life's uncertainties with courage and compassion. Buddha's presence remained with them, inspiring the Sangha to walk their paths with unwavering faith and harmony. The river continued its endless flow, carrying the echoes of Buddha's wisdom to all who listened and sought its guidance. Another day, Buddha and his disciples walked along a dusty road, encountering villagers carrying heavy burdens on their weary shoulders. As they journeyed, Buddha's attention was drawn to a woman weeping by the roadside, her anguish visible to all who passed. Buddha approached her, his steps measured and gentle. As the disciples watched from a respectful distance, eager to understand his actions, he sat beside the woman, his serene presence calming her sobs, and asked, "Why do you cry, my child?" Through her tears, the woman replied, "My son is gone, my heart is shattered, and my life has lost all meaning." Buddha listened intently, his gaze steady, as though absorbing the depth of her sorrow into his own being. He reached into his robe and pulled out a small mirror, holding it before the woman with an unwavering hand. "Look," he said, "and see the face of one who suffers. What does this reflection tell you, my child?" The woman gazed into the mirror, her tear-streaked face staring back, an image of pain etched deeply into her expression. "It shows my grief," she said softly, her voice trembling with the weight of her emotions and the intensity of her loss. Buddha nodded, his compassion evident as he spoke. "The mirror reflects your suffering, but it also holds the truth of your connection to others." He continued, "Turn the mirror toward me, and tell me what you see in the reflection before you." The woman obeyed, her hands steadying the mirror as Buddha's serene face appeared within its polished surface. "I see peace, Master," she said, confused by the contrast between her own anguish and his calm demeanor. Buddha explained, "Compassion transforms suffering. It reveals peace when we meet pain with love, understanding, and the wisdom of interconnectedness. Your grief," Buddha said, "exists not to isolate you, but to connect you with the shared humanity of all beings." He gestured to the villagers nearby, saying, "Each person carries a burden, yet together they form a tapestry of shared experience. Just as the river flows freely," Buddha continued, "compassion allows you to move beyond sorrow toward the stillness of truth." The woman wept again, but this time her tears carried solace, her heart touched by the depth of Buddha's words. She said, "Master, how can I transform my sorrow into compassion when the pain feels so overwhelming?" "Beyond my control?" Buddha replied. "Begin with small acts of kindness. Offer your love to others, and your pain will find purpose and release." Compassion, Buddha said, is the wisdom of the heart. It blossoms when we embrace suffering as the seed of connection. The disciples joined the woman, offering her comfort and support, their unity and embodiment of Buddha's teachings. Buddha addressed the Sangha, saying, "Do not turn away from pain. It is a teacher that guides you to deeper understanding and empathy." He continued, "Wisdom is not merely knowing. It is feeling, the merging of understanding with the truth of compassion. Embrace the suffering of others as your own," Buddha said, "and you will discover the mirror of peace within yourself." The disciples meditated on these words, their thoughts filled with the profound teachings they had witnessed that day. Buddha rose, his presence radiating calm and strength, and began walking, the disciples and woman following closely behind. As they continued their journey, the Sangha reflected on their own experiences, seeking the wisdom hidden within their struggles. The road stretched ahead, filled with challenges, yet Buddha's teachings illuminated the path with clarity and purpose. The woman found solace in small acts of kindness, her grief slowly transforming into compassion through her connection to others. Buddha's words echoed in her heart, guiding her as she sought meaning and peace in the wake of her sorrow. The disciples practiced compassion in their daily lives, finding strength in the shared humanity of the people they encountered. Under Buddha's guidance, the Sangha embraced the wisdom of the mirror, seeing themselves in the suffering of others. The sun climbed higher, its light breaking through the leaves, scattering golden rays over the listening crowd. The Buddha turned to the group, his voice resonant yet soft. The road ahead held many lessons, yet Buddha's presence remained with them, a constant reminder of compassion's transformative power. And so, they walked together, their hearts united in purpose, planting seeds of peace wherever their journey led. "Master," the monk said softly, "does the room teach us that life is meant to be devoid of all forms of beauty?" The Buddha chuckled warmly, his laughter like the light breeze brushing against leaves swaying to the rhythm of timeless existence. "No," the Buddha answered. "Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you." Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.